Glad to have you back. You're watching TVC News. The 2017 campaign of the International Day for Disaster Reduction seeks to raise global awareness about effective actions, policies and practices taken to reduce exposure to disaster risk at the community level, thereby contributing to saving homes and livelihoods. This year's target is focused on prevention, protection and reducing the number of people affected by disaster. The CEO, Occupational Health and Safety Managers Iden, joins me now from Abuja to tell me more about this. Thank you for joining me on TVC News. Well, this is a day to promote
Good
culture.
morning, it's so good to be here.
This is a day to promote culture of risk awareness and disaster reduction. Have we done enough of that in terms of the insurgency in the north and kidnappings across the country?
Well, I think no country can really say they have done enough. But where we are in Nigeria's scenario is so pathetic because we have not really done anything at all as far as this is concerned. And we have had a number of disasters as a country, and we have had a lot of colossal losses in this disaster we've had. You remember the 2012 flood that affected 30 states out of 36 states and costed the country almost about 2.6 trillion naira damage. Then your question, your guess might be, did we learn a lesson from what has happened in the past? We haven't learned. So if we haven't learned a lesson from what has happened in the past, we have not been able to put a structure in place to talk about disaster preparedness, mitigate towards subsequent disaster that could happen, and even create a lot of awareness amongst our people to know what their roles will be when disaster happen. And this is what we are battling with, and it's becoming a very great concern in our nation.
All right, this year's target is focused on prevention, protection and reducing the number of people affected by disasters. Is this achievable?
It is achievable. You can only set a target and work towards it to achieve it. If you don't set a target, I mean, you can't achieve anything. This is what the United Nations General Assembly are saying, and every country just needs to key into it. And you can see different countries are working assiduously to meet this target, and that's where when you come back to our country, you ask yourself, what are we really doing as regards this target in disaster reduction? Yes, 2030 is achievable. But we have, in the Nigerian context, we have not really seen what we have done, I mean, visibly in trying to make our own contribution, I mean, to what the global campaign is on the reduction of disaster-affected people by 2030. If you go back to countries as Cuba, I mean, the report has it that even the president, when Fidel Castro was the president of Cuba, disaster happened in Cuba, Fidel Castro actually led the train. That is a level of preparedness. Look at countries as Philippines. They have put structures in place, even up to schools, where students are being taught on disasters that are peculiar to their environment, geographical placement, and people know what their roles are, how to actually help, how to play your role when disaster happens. These are being taught from school. I mean, and people grow into this thing. But when you look back to our country, you ask the question, what are we really doing? Yes, we have agencies of government as NEMA and all the likes of it. Yes, having that does not forestall disaster occurrence. How much of awareness have they created, I mean, to people in those geographical settlements where you know that disasters are so prone? How much awareness have they created in those areas, letting people know what disasters that are peculiar within their geographical placements are, and what their roles are, how they could respond when this happens? When we know what our roles are in disaster response, we tend to limit the number of casualties and the loss that we may actually record when it happens. But when we don't know those rules, when it happens, it catches everybody off guard, and we lose a lot of lives, we lose a lot of assets. The country, I mean, that locality is thrown into lawlessness and people getting displaced. This has a whole lot of cost to the global economy at the end of the day. And this is what we're talking about.
It also leads me to ask if we have effective actions, policies and practices to reduce the risk even at our community levels?
Well, I come back to that question again. I didn't get that clearly.
I said this leads me to ask if we have effective actions, policies and practices to reduce risk even at community levels.
Well, trust us as a people, as a country, we have policies. They may not be that rich or that robust. There are policies. We're not really talking about the policy. We're talking about enforcement of those policies. In disaster management from grassroots to national level, there are policies that actually speaks in this direction. But the question is, people who are supposed to even enforce these policies, they don't know what the content of these policies are. These policies only exist in documents, and in reality, in practical terms, they're like not in existence. And what we wait for is for the issues to happen. Everybody is thrown off balance. We are now doing what you call the reactive approach and recording our losses and doing trauma debrief for people that have lost their loved ones and have lost their assets. But this should not really be the case if the policies that we have actually enforced and implemented, and not just that. Over time, you review it, see where we are, and let people know what their roles are, what their responsibilities are as regards to this policy. I'll give you an example. When Lagos State was actually organizing the climate change summit, when the Governor Fashola was the governor of Lagos State, I asked the question in that summit. Muiz Banire was telling us about how risky it is to settle in that part of Lagos, what you call the island, from Lekki down to Ekpe and those areas. And when you put those areas as a high-risk area in your state, and you know that definitely they live within the coastal waters, there's going to be disaster in those areas. The question I asked that year, about 5 years ago, when you know these areas are high-risk areas and they are prone to this kind of disaster, how have you gathered the people? How have you worked with the people who are the settlers in those areas? Make them have what you call community emergency disaster management plan.
And that's where we're going to have to leave it now. Mr. Iden, CEO, Occupational Health and Safety Managers. That's about all we have time for. Thank you for joining us on this International Day for Disaster Reduction. Thank you.